Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we are taking on a concept that is literally everywhere right now, AI. We're skipping the buzzwords, and there are absolutely no dense computer science manuals here. Just a clear, under-the-hood look at the technology that's totally shaping our world. Okay, let's dive into this. So what exactly is artificial intelligence? We constantly hear those two words thrown around, in news headlines, in movies, boardroom meetings, you name it. But before we get lost in the technical weeds, we really need to strip away all that Hollywood sci-fi stuff, right? We need to look at the actual core foundation of the tech we're dealing with. Fundamentally, artificial intelligence is a branch of technology that enables computers and machines to perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. And here's the thing, it isn't about creating life. Think of it more like a technological mirror. We're basically building systems dedicated to reflecting the exact cognitive abilities that make us uniquely human. And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what we mean by human intelligence in this context. It really boils down to four distinct actions: thinking, learning, reasoning, and making decisions. Now, we aren't just talking about a traditional calculator crunching numbers. A calculator just blindly follows a rigid formula. Instead, we're talking about a system striving to replicate fluid, complex reasoning. It's making judgment calls based on context, just like you and I do. So how does a machine actually go about thinking? Well, it follows this incredibly active four-step dynamic process. First up, it analyzes massive amounts of data. Then it starts recognizing patterns within that giant sea of information. From there, it begins solving problems. But guys, the real magic happens in step 4, improving performance over time through experience. Honestly, it's the difference between a program that always plays chess the exact same way and one that actually learns your unique strategy and completely crushes you on the second try. But listen, this process isn't just happening in some abstract, locked-down server room somewhere. AI is in everyday life. It's actively deployed all around us, right at this very moment. Let's move to and see how this builds across entirely different sectors. Just notice how widespread this footprint really is. We aren't just talking about everyday search engines or chatbots like Claude anymore. AI is literally diagnosing diseases in healthcare with unbelievable accuracy. At the same time, it's tailoring personalized learning for students in education and driving super smart, data-backed decision-making in the business world. It is completely woven into the very fabric of our modern routines. So to truly grasp how it manages to achieve all of this, let's take a look under the hood at the three main branches of AI. All right, the first branch is machine learning. Simply put, this allows systems to learn from data. Remember that dynamic four-step process we just talked about? Well, machine learning is the engine behind it. And let me tell you, it requires a staggering amount of fuel. To put that into perspective, some modern language models are trained on data sets containing literally trillions of words. Trillions. That's essentially a massive chunk of the entire public internet, and it digests all of that just to learn the basic patterns of how we communicate. Then we step up the complexity to deep learning. This branch uses neural networks to handle highly complex patterns. You can think of neural networks as layers of digital neurons, kind of loosely inspired by the wiring of our own human brains. When the patterns in the data get incredibly complicated, like, say, trying to recognize one specific face in a super crowded video feed, these layered networks are the ones brought in to do the heavy lifting. And finally, we have natural language processing, or NLP for short. This is the totally fascinating branch that helps machines understand and actually generate human language. This is exactly the stuff powering those chatbots we mentioned earlier. It's basically pure technological magic when you really stop and think about it. The ability for a machine to not just blindly process text, but to actually understand the nuance, the tone, and the intent behind your plain English prompt, and then instantly generate a response that makes perfect sense. It's absolutely wild. Ultimately, all of these branches are pointing toward one really clear destination, making tasks faster, easier, and way more efficient. So the crucial point to take away from all this is that we are trying to replicate human intelligence simply to build the perfect, highly capable tool. Everything we've covered, from neural networks to that massive data processing, it's all just a means to augment our very own capabilities. Which naturally brings us to a final, pretty fascinating question. If AI's ultimate goal is to seamlessly replicate human intelligence, just to make our lives easier and more efficient, well, how much of our own thinking, reasoning, and decision-making are we actually ready to hand over? I'll leave you to think on that one. Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.